Hello and welcome to another day on Cornwall Pocket Farm, where I try and figure out how to live sustainably on 300 square metres in the city. Today it's another capsule wardrobe video, as you'd have seen from the thumbnail, and I have finished suit A. And a side note on that, I was actually talking to my husband the other day about suit A and suit B. It occurred to me that suit A was a bit, well, it lacked something, shall we say. It's a bit boring, it doesn't really describe anything. Suit A, suit B. So I came up with a different idea, actually based on some vintage knitting patterns that I have. So if you can see here, these are the knitting patterns that I have, some very old knitting patterns that I got from a charity shop for $1, I think it says here. And what they used to do on these old patterns was they used to give the outfits, the jumpers, ladies' names. So this is Eileen and Irene. And also, I've got another one here. There's some lovely patterns in these books. And they give them all names. So this here, hopefully you can see here, this is Wendy and this is Frida. They're not always very common names now. I mean, maybe in other countries, but you don't meet many Fridas, certainly not in New Zealand. So anyway, these pattern books all have ladies' names, sort of to denote the different jumpers, and I thought, well, that would be a lovely idea. And I've also noticed that they do a similar sort of thing on these sort of indie sewing patterns. They'll often give them ladies' names. So I thought that would be wonderful, and why didn't I give my outfits, my suits if you like, ladies' names, inspiration names? So I was thinking of film stars, 40s and 50s film stars, obviously, to go with the vintage patterns and everything. So I thought that suit A, previously known as suit A, should actually be called Audrey, because I think it's a very, to me it feels like an Audrey Hepburn type of outfit. So that's what I'm going to call suit A. From now on it's going to be the Audrey. And then I thought, when I was thinking about suit C, which is the patterned one with the full skirt, I thought, oh yes, absolutely, Sound of Music. You know that shot where they've made all their outfits out of curtains and they're running across the hills? That's that's what I'm channeling with that outfit. So I thought that suit C should be Julie. I'm not sure about suit B yet, but I will name that suit and you will be the first to know. Anyway, so those are the names. So the Audrey is now finished, and I will obviously put in some footage at the end of this video of how it turned out. But I've got some footage on how I actually put that together, the making of the pattern, if you like, the mock-up, a little bit of the mock-up, and then some shots of the final outfit. But I wanted to talk to you about the jacket first. Let me just get it. I had those little buttons on the top, those 3 little white buttons, and I actually got those out of my stash. I have an old button stash from, well, anybody that sews I'm sure has a button stash. So I found the little white buttons for the top out of my stash, and then I went back into that box to see if I could find any for the jacket. And I found these ones, and I'm really pleased with them because they look very similar to the ones on the top, and I just needed a few as the closing, and it gives it that sort of pop of interest, you know, like, because just the dark suit and then just having a little pop of white, I thought it was really rather nice. So I found those buttons, and as you'll see from the footage that you're going to see in a minute about the process, I didn't know whether I wanted to put the darts in, but I did actually put darts in just in the back. You probably can't see, you should be able to see when you see the reveal, but I did actually put darts just in the back and not in the front, and that sort of pulled it in a bit and made it stop looking too boxy, but still had that sort of slightly looser fit that I was after. Anyway, so that's the jacket all finished. The Audrey is now complete. I'll show you this other footage now so you'll be able to see a bit of the process. I'm hoping you can see this, okay? I've got the camera angle really strangely in my sewing room. It's a very small room, and I'm trying to get enough light to show you this. Anyway, so these 3 patterns essentially are the patterns that I'm going to make the jacket out of. The inspiration for this jacket is this one that I'm showing you right now on the screen. It has a sort of a grown-on sleeve, if you like. So I want to do that type of sleeve, which is where this pattern comes in. This pattern is one that I have in my stash, which is the only one I have with a little bolero on it, and I thought, well, that's good for sort of the size and the shaping, because it's a little bit small for me at size 10, but not too far out. So I thought that would be a really good indicator of maybe what the shape and sizing should be. And then the neckline I want to do is from this pattern, because what I like here is the fact that C and D essentially are the same neckline. It's just that one is closed and one is open. So one's closed and gives you this little sort of mao collar, and then when you open it you get sort of more of a shirt collar. So I quite like those alternatives. So this is for the neckline, this is for the overall shaping, if you like, and this is for the sleeve. And the trick is to bring all those together, and then I will sense check it with my block. My block is like this, hopefully you can see it. So there's various pieces, the front and the back, and a sleeve, a full sleeve. And this block fits me perfectly, like it's sort of pretty skin tight really. So this is where I double check that my body will go in the pattern, if you like. I'm starting to envy these YouTubers that have overhead camera setups where they just turn it on and it's all light and it's all beautiful. I'm sort of squeezing here in between my camera. I've got my little light that I've got, which really isn't strong enough, and I'm trying to use the daylight. Hopefully you can see this and the camera isn't going too AWOL. Right, so the first thing is to find the pattern pieces out of each of these that are the ones that we need, and then don't mix them up because they have to go back in the envelopes. Okay, so we've got 6571 Butterick, we've got style 3153, and we've got style 3568. All of these came from charity shops, and they would have been about 50 cents or $1 each. So this is my base, because this is the sort of the shape that I want. So I'm just going to move those other two out of the way for a minute and get out the main pieces. You're never quite sure what size it's been cut to. This is a one size. It's only a size 12. So that's the back. So what we need now is the neckline, the back neckline of this other pattern. Okay, so this is the sort of the shirt. Doesn't look too far different, to be honest. So the waistline, that's the waistline there, that's the waistline there. Line those up. Oh, there's barely anything in it. Barely anything in it. Now this is not on the fold, because it's got a cut line there. This is on the fold, which means that I need to line that up with this line, the seam line, the stitching line, rather than lining it up with the cut line. Okay, so yeah, not a lot in it actually. That looks pretty similar to me. Okay, so that with the back I don't think needs too much adjustment, but we need to get the other back out, which is the back of the bolero. Okay, so this is the back of the bolero. It's on the fold again. Oh, this has not even been cut out. It's not been used. So I just need to find that seam line and put it up there. Okay, so essentially the bolero is really just coming to this adjust line. So it's above the waistline. The bolero on that yes, it's a sort of an empire line, but I want my bolero to come down to my waist, because if you remember, all of my pieces are going to anchor at the waist and they're all going to come into the waist. So it needs to come to the waistline with some seam allowance. But again, the neckline on that, I don't know if you can see, let me see if I can bring it into shot. So the neckline on that, the first neckline is like this. First neckline is like that, second neckline is like that, third neckline is like that. So there's very little in the neckline. The only difference I'll need to make here is I'll need to start this shoulder seam from taking note of the one with the collar, because of course the collar will need to fit the neckline. So that's the only thing I really need to do on here. The other thing I'm noticing is that this does come in. So for the bolero back is actually angling in quite a lot here. So with that in mind, they've got a line coming in and then going out. Of course, that is where the hem is. So they've done that so that when they fold the hem up, it will actually fit nicely. So this angle here that you're seeing is actually just for the hem. So this actually finishes here, which is quite high. Okay, but it does come in a little, so I'm just going to be aware of that. When I draw this in, I'll need to make it more of an angle, to make it more bolero styled, if you like. Okay, so those are the backs, all looking reasonably good. Again, we will start with the one with the correct sleeves, because that, I think, is going to be, that shape is going to be the most important. And these sleeves, the length of these sleeves, I'm not sure how long they're going to be yet. It will really depend on how much fabric I have. So these sleeves might be a little shorter. But there we have the pattern piece for the jacket front. I'm just going to find the bolero front just to see how that looks. Now the bolero front has a dart in it. All that dart is really doing is bringing it in so it sort of fits around the bust, if you like. Looking at the shape here, looking at the grain, well, the other thing I look is the grain line. So you can see the grain line there. This grain line will need to be in line with that. So looking at that grain line, pulling it a little back a little bit. Actually, those grain lines are not far off on top of each other. They must make all these patterns from a standard sort of drawing, I would say. So this comes down a little on the shoulder compared to this type of sleeve, but I will go with this sleeve. I don't know whether I will put a dart in here. I probably won't put a dart in the sleeve side like this has done. I will probably, if I put a dart in, it will probably be at the bottom, so I'll move the dart round to the front. I don't know about this shirt. No, that doesn't have a dart either. So what I can always do is put that dart in later, because essentially it's just pulling that in a little bit. So that's not the end of the world. Okay, so that's all looking reasonable. That's obviously comes, this one is bigger. If you look at the drawing here, this pattern is sort of looser. So there's a little bit more sort of ease in it, in that, than there is in the bolero, which is much more fitted and also showing open at the front. So that's interesting, it's showing open at the front. So that's why it's cut back a bit, whereas this one closes to the front. So I need to make note of that and pull it out to here so that it can actually close. In fact, that might even change when I look at the shirt, because with the shirt I might do the whole of the front of the shirt. I will probably, yeah, I will do the whole of the front of the shirt so that I can get the buttons in the closings. So not to worry about that. It's really just with this a size placing. Let's have a look at the other one. Where is the shirt front? See, I'm getting my patterns all mixed up now. It always happens. Ah. Right, shirt front. This is the shirt front. So let's take the bolero off for the minute. looking at the shirt front. Now the key thing here is that this line here where the buttons are, that's the centre front there, and on this pattern centre front will be this line allowing for a seam line. So that will need to come over there so that they're roughly in the same sort of places. Oh, it needs to come down quite a bit. So there we go. So the neck, interestingly, again, this shoulder is a little more slopey on here, but I'm not dealing with these sleeves. I'm going to deal with the raglan sleeve pattern. So just looking at that neck, it comes out a lot more down to here with the seam allowance on the front. It's roughly the same width, interestingly. So I don't think those will be too hard to combine at all. So the next thing is just to draw them all up. I'll start by drawing that one. Then I'll draw this shirt edging on the front. And then I will look at the bolero, double check everything, maybe put a dart in and sort the length out. I'm just folding that seam allowance back because I will be doing this jacket back on a fold, so I'm just moving that out of the way so that all of the patterns are on the fold on the back. Right. And then marking the waistline on there. Obviously I will need some seam allowance on the bottom. This is really quite awkward doing it between camera and light. Challenging, challenging. I'm just doing little lines. I can join those up later on with, excuse me, I'm going to lean right across the camera because I can't get to the end of this sleeve. And also just marking those notches in as well on this because the audio is probably going all over the place seeing as I'm walking around the microphone. Yeah, so I'm putting the notches in because of course the way these pieces fit together is going to be important because I'll need to get the sleeves and everything to line up. And the body. Okay. Just take the whites off. Now I can draw those in. So that's the back. Excuse my fingers, I've just come out of the garden. So I've just noticed they're all brown from pruning things. Never mind, never mind. That mark there comes into there. And then we'll get a curve out. Okay, so this is the base, this is the back. I need to do it to cut on fold. And I need to cut one. And size need. Okay, so this is the shirt back. It's on fold. Okay, so the neck is pretty similar here. The only difference is where it comes off here. So here is where I might need to take some off that top line. This jacket, the one with the grown-on sleeve, is quite a loose fitting. It's got quite a lot of ease in it. So I think possibly that either I'll have to take some off the shoulder or I'll have to add some onto the collar. Not sure just yet, but I've put a mark there so I know where this one comes to. done the general outline. The other thing I do need to make note on here is the grain line, because there is no on-fold marking. So I just need to make sure I get this grain line correct so that everything can join up together. I'll line up the shoulder and make sure that the straight of grain is in line. Difficult to do. Can't see the straight of grain. There's a straight of grain there. Straight of grain there. So that's pretty much it. Maybe a fraction over that way. Okay. So from this collar point, it is going to, so it don't shift. It comes down here. There's a mark there. That's pretty straight. Then there's a double mark there. And down to the waistline. Okay, I just thought I'd show you some progress of where I'm at. So I've got both the main pattern pieces cut out, adapted and cut out now. So I've got the back and then also the front. I did actually add a little bit of extra depth at the bottom of both of the main pieces and also the facing, just because I thought, well, I'd only put seam allowance on and I wanted to give myself options for how I finish the bottom, and I'm not sure quite how I'm going to do that yet. I did the facing piece matching up with the edge, obviously, and it essentially it's just mimics. If I just turn that over, you'll see it just sort of mimics the edge here so that it fits. The only difference I had to make was I had to change the top a little bit because the original pattern came in at a steeper angle. So I just changed the top there to fit the current shoulder on this new grown on sleeve. But apart from that, that facing piece was pretty much out of the box. And then the collar piece, that was just straight off the pattern. Okay, so I'm quite pleased with how that is working. This is over halfway because of course there's the button placket in here. The collar is quite nice and falling back there. It will be a little tighter in once I get the collar on, but I'm quite pleased with how the sleeve is working, and I can of course put in a bit of a dart there to bring it in if I want it to sit further in. The sleeve length is reasonably short anyway. It must be more of a bracelet length sleeve on the pattern, I would think. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way that that is looking. So I think we'll go to the next stage and move on to the proper fabric. I'm really pleased with the way that it's turned out. Yes, it looks really sharp. I think it gives so many different sort of options. With the jacket on and the collar popped, I feel like, you know, so amazing. Very powerful, and I do feel like I could sort of stroll into quite a smart restaurant and feel the part. And then with the collar down and with it open, you know, it just sort of, it's quite casual, just a throw over to cover from the sun. And then with the jacket off, it's a nice easygoing sort of dress type look. And then obviously I can wear them individually as well, so just the top with a different skirt and just the skirt with a different top. So lots of different options and lots of different looks, I think, just with that one suit. So I'm very pleased with that. And now I'm moving on to the dress, the wedding dress, and I was thinking, what should I call that? And I have to say that probably the sort of the image in my head for that pattern and the inspiration is a little bit Sophia Loren. Now don't laugh, obviously I don't have any illusions that I look like Audrey Hepburn or Sophia Loren or any of those things, but that's sort of, you know, you've got to aim at something, haven't you? So that's sort of the vibe, that's sort of the what I'm aiming for. Yes, that's shall we call it the direction of travel? Let's do that. The direction of travel for the wedding dress is Sophia Loren, so I'm just about to start on that one next. Anyway, so I better stop chatting away on these videos and actually get on with this mock-up, because I've done a little bit of it. I've done pinned it on. I'm through the first mock-up, working on the second mock-up. I think I know the direction I'm going with that, but obviously I will show you those mock-ups and sort of then the process of creating this dress so that it fits properly. So I hope that's been of interest and use, and that idea of sort of using multiple patterns to sort of put them on top of each other, if you like, and come up with one pattern, which is what you want to do. Hopefully that's helped a few people, given a few people a bit of inspiration, and yeah, I'd just like to bring you along for the journey. Any comments, suggestions, ideas, please put it in the comments below. That would be very useful. I am enjoying the comments immensely, and answering each one. Not immediately, because I'm not somebody that tends to sit on my phone all the time, but I hopefully I'm getting around to answering your comments every couple of days. So thanks for all those comments, and yeah, I will see you next time. Bye.